Welcome to In 5 Minutes. Now I'll see a concept of two-dimensional array of characters as a collection of strings. Now firstly, what is a string is? String is a collection of characters, and to store a string or process a string in C program, we use a one-dimensional array of characters. So how C stores a string? It's somewhat like this. We can define some char array, let's say char array A of some size, let's say 10, equal to, I can put some string inside it, let's say A, B, C, D. So in this case, an array A, there is one D array of characters is defined with A0, A1, A2, A3, A4 and like this up to A of 9, that is A0 to A9, and in that A, B, C, D characters are stored from 0 to 3 and fourth will be null character. That is how a string is stored in C. So to store one string we require one-dimensional array. Now let's discuss a two-dimensional array of characters. Now in this case I defined a char array A of 4 rows by 20 columns. So it will have 4 rows. A is this complete array with A 0, 1, 2, 3 as 4 rows and 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as a 19 columns. Now every row in a 2D array is also called with some name as A0, A1, A2, A3. So assuming A is an array, we can call first row as A0, a complete row, second complete row as A1, then A2, then A3. Now if we just take out one row separately, it will look like a one-dimensional array of size 19. It is like A0 is an array name and it has 20 characters capacity. So obviously here I can store one string of maximum characters 20. So in one row of a 2D array we can store one string. Now it's like A0 is an array name in which I can store one string. So obviously in A1 I can store one string, in A2 I can store one string, in A3 I can store one string. So this will be a one string, second string, third string, fourth string. Like that I can store 4 strings over here, each of maximum size 20. Now if we treat those rows as just single unit, that is we will not consider these columns over here, then it will look like it's a A0, then there is A1 of 20 characters, A2 of 20 characters and A3 of 20 characters. So it's like A is an array with A0, A1, A2, A3. So you can treat this as one unit with name A0, second as A1, A2 and A3, and in each row over there we can store one string. So obviously if you have to input data or if you have to input a string into first row, we can simply write gets in bracket A0. Like here, if it's A is an array, we can simply write gets in bracket A, where A is a 1D array. We have to just write name of the array. Now same way over here, this is like a one-dimensional array of size 20 and the name is A0, so I can input data into A0. So suppose the name, some value is input as let's say A, B, C, D, then that will be stored into A0, 0, A0, 1, A0, 2, A0, 3 and then null character. Same way I can input data for A1, so it will be stored in this string and so on. So we can use a 2D array of characters as a collection of strings. So in this I can store 4 strings. If I got this array of size 40, I can store 40 strings, that is 40 names or 40 email IDs or 40 passwords, each of maximum size 20. So in simple words we can say we can use 2D array of characters as collection of multiple strings to hold multiple strings together. Now we'll be writing a program to input 5 different names from user and then input username and check whether it is present in the above list of names. It is somewhat like any social site or email site has lots of names and password stored inside its own database, and when you input your own password and name, it checks whether that name or password is present in their own list. If it is present, you are a valid user, otherwise you are not valid user.